Before we begin, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next story. Your support truly helps us bring deeper, more meaningful narratives like this to light. Now, let's begin. There are moments in every family's journey when one quiet decision reshapes everything that follows. For Shiloh Jolie, that moment did not arrive with noise or public statements, but with paperwork, silence, and resolve. Born into a life the world watched obsessively, she grew up under expectations she never chose. Every smile, every outfit, every appearance was dissected before she could understand what privacy meant. As she stepped into adulthood, she faced a choice many never have to consider: whether to carry a name tied to pain, history, and division. Her decision was deeply personal, and while shocking to many, it was the culmination of years of emotional distance, fractured relationships, and the weight of a family story that never truly healed. Shiloh was once the symbol of hope for a family the world adored. When she was born in 2006, cameras flashed, headlines celebrated, and her parents were seen as Hollywood's most powerful couple. Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie represented a modern fairy tale, blending cultures, adoption, and biological children into one global family. Shiloh's birth was treated like a historic event, with exclusive photos raising millions for charity. For a time, it seemed as though love, fame, and purpose had aligned perfectly. But beneath the surface, differences were growing, and the foundation many believed unbreakable was already beginning to crack. In her early years, Shiloh appeared close to her father. Brad often carried her through airports, held her during interviews, and spoke proudly of her confidence and individuality. He supported her choices, even when they defied traditional expectations. Her tomboy style became a topic of fascination, and rather than resisting it, he publicly embraced who she was becoming. Those moments painted a picture of warmth and connection. But family bonds, especially under constant public pressure, can be fragile. As time passed, those shared moments grew fewer, replaced by schedules, travel, and emotional distance that slowly widened. Everything changed in 2016 when Angelina Jolie filed for divorce. What followed was not just a separation, but a prolonged emotional storm that engulfed the entire family. Allegations, investigations, and court filings replaced family routines. The infamous private plane incident became a dividing line that could never be erased. While authorities ultimately cleared Brad of physical wrongdoing, the emotional damage had already taken hold. Trust fractured. Custody arrangements shifted. And the children, including a 10-year-old Shiloh, found themselves navigating adult conflicts far beyond their understanding. From that point forward, Shiloh's childhood unfolded alongside courtrooms rather than playgrounds. Legal battles dragged on for years, reshaping where she lived, who she saw, and how often she could simply be a child. Angelina became the primary parent in practice, while Brad's presence grew more limited. Public sightings of him with his children became rare and eventually non-existent. The family that once moved as a unit now existed in separate emotional worlds. For Shiloh, the father she once adored became a distant figure, defined more by memories than daily presence. As the years passed, the older siblings began making quiet but telling choices. Maddox, Pax, and Zahara gradually distanced themselves, emotionally and symbolically. Some stopped using Pitt in informal settings. Others spoke openly about strained relationships. Shiloh watched all of this unfold, absorbing the unspoken message that family bonds were no longer guaranteed. Yet she never spoke publicly against her father. Instead, she retreated inward, focusing on self-expression rather than confrontation. Dance became her refuge. Movement offered her something words could not: control, release, and identity. At the Millennium Dance Complex, she trained relentlessly, surrounded by instructors who saw her not as a celebrity child, but as a dedicated student. Her discipline stood out. Her humility surprised people, and her talent was undeniable. Dance allowed her to process emotions she could never publicly acknowledge. Every routine became a conversation between pain and resilience, shaping who she was becoming. When Shiloh turned 18 in May 2024, she made a decision quietly but deliberately. On her birthday, she filed legal documents to remove Pitt from her name. She hired her own lawyer, paid the fees herself, and ensured no one, not even her mother, influenced the process. This was not a rebellious act. It was a controlled, thoughtful step toward autonomy. By August, the change was official. She was no longer Shiloh Jolie-Pitt. She was Shiloh Jolie. For Brad Pitt, the news was deeply painful. Sources later revealed he was aware and emotionally affected, struggling with the realization that his daughter no longer wanted to carry his name. Friends described his grief as quiet but profound. Shiloh had once been seen as a possible bridge between him and the rest of the children. Instead, her decision symbolized how wide the emotional divide had grown. Yet despite his pain, Shiloh never publicly explained her reasons. She allowed her silence to speak. But her transformation didn't stop there. In May 2025, during a fashion event in Los Angeles, Shiloh introduced something even more unexpected. Listed in the press materials under a new artistic name, she was credited as a choreographer for a live performance. No mention of her parents, no reference to Hollywood lineage, just an artist and her work. The name she chose reflected evolution, creativity, and distance from the conflict that shaped her childhood. This new identity was not about rejection. It was about survival. Those close to Shiloh describe her as thoughtful, introspective, and deeply aware of her emotional boundaries. She didn't erase her past out of anger, but out of necessity. After years of chaos, she wanted peace. After years of noise, she wanted clarity. Her choices were about creating a future not defined by legal battles or public speculation. Angelina Jolie continued focusing on stability, raising the younger children with an emphasis on healing and structure. Brad remained largely absent from public family moments, constrained by court decisions and emotional distance. The Jolie-Pitt family no longer existed as a unit, but as separate orbits shaped by shared history and unresolved pain. Shiloh's decision reflected that reality more honestly than any statement ever could. Dance became more than a passion. It became her voice. As she transitioned from student to choreographer, her confidence grew. Instructors praised her creativity and emotional depth. Every performance carried intention. She wasn't escaping her story, she was rewriting it through movement. Her artistry spoke of resilience, growth, and self-ownership. The public may debate her name change endlessly, but for Shiloh, the meaning is deeply personal. It represents boundaries, healing, and self-definition. She chose herself, quietly and firmly. And in doing so, she reminded the world that even those born into fame deserve the right to choose who they become. Shiloh's journey is not about celebrity drama. It is about a young woman reclaiming agency after a childhood shaped by forces beyond her control. Her choices mark the beginning of a life lived on her own terms, guided by creativity rather than conflict. Whether time brings reconciliation or deeper distance remains unknown. But what is clear is this: Shiloh Jolie has stepped into adulthood with intention, courage, and quiet strength. Her story is no longer about who she was born to, but about who she chooses to be. And now, as she builds her future through art and movement, the world is finally seeing her not as a symbol of a broken family, but as an individual carving her own path forward. What do you think about Shiloh's decision? Do you believe this change will help her heal and grow? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more stories like this.